The Mantis boss fight is here. Yes, Grounded 1.0. We knew they were going to be adding this as it was in the trailer and leaked ages before then, but it's finally here and we all get a chance to take it on. Probably one of the toughest boss fights you'll encounter. Well, it has to be said, later on I did find actually a Black Widow spider more challenging. It's just the first look today, giving a few tips about what I've learned so far, but obviously I'll have a much more detailed guide in the best way to take it down, different strategies and different types of gear to wear or use. But I will cover today all the stuff that you can make using her pieces and anything else we've discovered. So the Mantis is situated on the deck near the shed, and you do have to get inside it by going up the pipe that's on the left hand side into the actual vase of flowers. In the end, it wasn't a terrarium or terranium as I imagined, as we'd seen some of that stuff in the game files. This is what happens when you dive too deep into stuff. You might be a bit disappointed or maybe not expecting to see certain things. But nevertheless, it was still obviously a big dungeon, and yeah, it's in glow. So it's basically just a, I guess, blossom flower lily bush inside a pot. It is quite a large area and you can use that central route to good effect to basically avoid some of the damage that the Mantis will do. But just like obviously facing off against the Broodmother, you needed the BLT, you do need a recipe for this as well, which is a kebab made out of Broodmother parts. And that is no easy task. There's something you've got to do before we even get the recipe. You've got to unlock a special door. That is the laboratory in the oak tree stump that's fallen over in the upper yard. This is extremely dangerous area. I am using creative mode obviously just to show you guys today. Right next to a lab piece sticking up next to this tiny bit of tree, you'll find a hole. It's usually guarded by a wolf spider at least. You can drop down, there's a ton of upgrade rocks, so it's very good to just go here anyway. And you'll notice that eventually, when you get down to the very bottom, you'll go into a small cave and there'll be an entranceway to something that you can't reach. You can't place anything down here, you're not able to build, and you're not able to actually jump up inside this small gap here. So if you climb all the way back up and jump on top of this laboratory, the door should open if you've pressed the red button for the secret laboratory underneath the oak tree way back at the start of the game. You remember this laboratory, right? This is the one I'm talking about. You can actually go inside, but we was never able to get into that little component that's got the red button. Well, it gets more complicated because you can't still go in there until you get the assistant key manager card from defeating the assistant manager. And for the noobs out there, he is in the black anthill. So that key is very important as it opens up some other little bonus doorways that will get you some extra loot. And then you're able to flick the button and you can see on the actual CCTV, it's going to show you exactly where this location is. The doors open up and it's clearly the laboratory at the fallen oak stump. So make sure you bring a tuft with you and drop down. Or be very careful landing on the certain parts as you drop down. You can do it without one. And then start climbing across all of this area. Now, you've got to get into a doorway to get some of the other stuff in here, like the stump chip, which has got some other goodies. It's how you'll get the ash walls. And you've literally got to jump up all of this laboratory to get to the top end. But the Mantis recipe itself is actually just here on the right hand side, right next to this cabinet below me. Honestly, it's in the worst position ever. I really feel like they should probably move it somewhere else. Hopefully they get some feedback that says it's just simply too hard. Or there'll be so many views in this video, they'll realise they do need to move it. Because that was a ridiculously bad place to put it. But regardless, that's it. That's the Mantis Kebab recipe. To get out, you will have to go through the rest of the laboratory and then come out in that place that I showed you earlier. So you're going to need 2 fire red heads. You're also obviously going to need some wood splinters. And you're going to need 5 Broodmother chunks, not aphids, despite what it looks like. So you've got to defeat the Broodmother, the assistant manager, before you could take on the Mantis. So there we go, we figured out how to summon it and where to get the recipe, but now let's actually take a look at the fight itself. So word of warning, the arena sometimes can have mosquitoes inside. That's what I encountered. There was at least one that was kind of stuck near the actual bush, and there was a couple on the outside of the bush, just where I was trying to get ready. Don't forget to obviously peep it as well so you can see its weaknesses and strengths. It's obviously a tier 3 creature, obviously a boss one as well. It's got 4 hearts and it is actually weak to chopping and salty. Now I did end up trying a bunch of strategies with it, but yeah, you'll see in a while, tier 3 axe with salt is going to be the way forward. It's also specifically resistant against busting, stabbing, slashing, explosive and spicy. So using something like the mint mallet might be okay, but I really feel like you need a lot of speed with this guy. So when you summon it, it will basically unfurl itself where it's hiding on one of the branches up above, and then it will just pounce down. When it lands, it doesn't actually do any damage to you. Not that I noticed the 3 or 4 times that I took it on just beforehand. It has got the 2 powerful swipes with its claws, which you can parry. You can't really do much against that scream, you just got to be far away from it or not in the right direction. And that attack particularly will decimate you if you haven't got decent armor on. It can jump across the arena as well in another pounce attack. So making sure you obviously got quick heals and stuff like this as well. Particularly the ground pounds, where it does ferocious pounds on the ground, it can do a damage directly in a line. The only thing that will stop you taking damage is if you're directly on the other side of the stump. And on top of that, you can see what we found in the leak files ages ago. It is a pollen shot, so it's basically going to slow you down massively, so you won't be able to run away from it. I have sped up the footage ever so slightly, and you can see, like I said, you can pretty much parry the 2 main claw attacks, and then it's just learning before it does what it's going to do in terms of the ground pound. You cannot be close to it. You can then hide behind the tree stump to replenish your health and get yourself rejigged or sorted if you've got more bandages or you need to do anything else. And for sure, if you've got a particularly strong bow build, there is definitely a way that you'll be able to take advantage of that just by taking pot shots off of it. I kind of hope they might try and spruce up the AI just a bit to make it even harder, so it will kind of run around it a little bit quicker. But as you can see, it is trying to get a line of sight on me, and it is firing off them pollen shots. Like I said, they do a lot of slowdown damage. I'm using one of the new weapons here. I think it's the tick sword, just to give you an idea of how little damage you're going to be doing with something with slashing. Although it has to be said, I didn't fully upgrade this weapon. They were all just at its base stats, as well as the armour that I was wearing, the brand new Barbarian Black Ox tail set. What you'll learn is that it jumps away from you as well, so it's not going to just sit there and take loads of damage. It can get across, and it can quickly jump back to you as well. So you really have got to use that branch well to hide around it. And you've got to be right directly in kind of no sight of the Mantis when it's doing that ground pound, as it can just skim the edges, so you really have got to make sure you're behind the full trunk of the tree to avoid it. It's an absolute huge creature, just like we'd imagined it would be. It's got so many different attacks, and absolutely a beast. I was expecting there to be more minions though. I thought it would summon mosquitoes. Maybe it's meant to as well. That might have just been a blood bug or a glitch, because it did seem a bit odd that there was 1 mosquito inside here and then only a couple stuck on the outside. So if that changes and you find about 3 or 4 mosquitoes in here, obviously make sure you take care of them first before you take on this guy. But there's no escaping the pollen shot, as you can see, as it's gone into its second phase there, just absolutely unleashing it, and it bounces all around the arena. So it just pings off and it will slow you down pretty much almost everywhere. You really have to get around the opposite side again. Pollen shot doesn't actually do any damage, like I said, it only just slows you down, but that's pretty big considering how much damage it can do with 1 swipe of its claw. And just showing you, yeah, you can make something viable out of bow and arrow shots. For some reason it was jumping around in certain different areas. I don't know if it was actually following where I was firing the arrows. And if there are any mosquitoes in here, just like other creatures, if it accidentally hits one, it will start fighting, trying to get the mosquito. So if you do find 1 mosquito in here, you might want to try and use it as a distraction tool to help you take down, obviously, the Mantis. In terms of weak points, I was trying to see if there maybe were some weak points on its eyes. That would be the most obvious to me, as its claws are pretty strong. But it doesn't mention anything like a actual proper weak spot on the actual bug in the cards, so I can't imagine it actually has anything like that. So it did at least 3 of these pollen shot waves before I went in and tried killing it with the final kill. I'll try and see if I could get some more arrows as well, because I didn't have any more healing items on me. My Ladybug armor set is max upgraded here as well. I did take it down the sleek path. So aim to get as many hits in as possible between parrying its 2 claw attacks, then get behind it as much as possible, so it will still do the actual stun damage, but it won't necessarily go and attack you. It's going to have to turn around, giving you a crucial half second. And there we go, that is the Mantis defeated. It took me, honestly, legit about 7 or 8 tries. But as I said, the Black Widow later on took around 15, 16. But bearing in mind I didn't maybe have the right gear on. So yeah, you might find this a bit easier. I'm pretty glad you can set up a base directly outside the arena, just like you can with the Broodmother, so you can really repair. You get 1 Mantis head, 2 Mantis claws and 7 Mantis chunks from killing it. And of course it means you've unlocked the Assassin Blossom or the Assassin armor set. And if you're mad enough, you can go ahead and face it pretty much straight away almost, as long as you've got another kebab. So the armour itself is amazing for critical hit damage lovers. Pair this with coup de grace level 2 and you'll be obliterating larger creatures. The assassin's armour obviously is light, and the head, the mask and the greaves, they're going to give you 4 defense and a resistance of 2.5 each. And the chest piece itself is going to give you 7 defense and a resistance of 5. So in terms of statuses, then yep, you get obviously the triple critical bleed if you're wearing all 3 of them, and then you've got a special set bonus which is going to do even more chance of getting critical hits. So once you get a critical hit, if you keep waiting on them, you might get another one. So really high stamina usage is a good idea, making sure you've got some of the mutations that will give you that. The more hits you get on a creature, yeah, the more chance you've got of decimating them. So it's really good, I would say, for taking on big, large creatures. If we go ahead and upgrade it all and take the sleep path, each piece will give additional stun damage with every critical hit. Once fully upgraded, the headpiece and the greaves will be up to 5.5 in terms of defense, with the chest piece being 9.5. And then factor that in with the scythe and you are talking about a massive overly OP critical hit damage kind of gear and set you should be using. You'll get extra critical hit damage when you use the scythe. It's worth noting as well, it acts like a tier 3 axe, so you should be able to chop down every single item that can be chopped. Although I hadn't turned the haze off when I loaded up this creative world, so I have got to double check that, but it does say it's a tier 3 item, and since it chops grass as well as husky weeds, I assume it will go through the dirt as well. It does seem to have more of a range as well, so really could be an amazing item to go ahead and use, clearing out lots of grass and areas. On its own it does 4 damage, only half a stun, but it does have 7 speed. And the materials needed to craft it is probably the one big letdown kind of. You're going to have to basically kill the Mantis a few times to get the full set and the scythe. Mantis Claw 2, Mantis Chunks 4, Pupa Leather 5, Rust, one of the new materials which is hidden deep in certain places, and obviously 5 lint rope. For the mask, you're going to need 1 Mantis head, 2 Mantis Chunks and 10 Pond Moss, another new material that you're going to have to get from deep down. And then for the actual chest piece, 1 Mantis Claw, 2 Mantis Chunks, 10 Pupa Leather, plus an additional Mantis Claw, 2 Mantis Chunks and 10 rope for the greaves. Certainly not cheap. There's no real other uses for the Mantis stuff. I don't think you can use it to even make glue or anything. So yeah, obviously you're going to have to summon it, and yeah, you're going to need 5 Broodmother Chunks like I said earlier, 2 Fire Ant Heads and 1 Wooden Splinter. So you are going to have to redo the Broodmother fight quite a few times, unless you happen to have just done it and you've not bothered to go ahead and make any of the Broodmother gear or weapons. Sad there's no trophy either. I'm guessing the devs kind of were a bit pushed for time, and we'll see probably a lot of trophies and stuffed creatures come as some sort of TLC cozy update in the future. And yeah, I guess in my opinion you're going to need a decent armor set that you can move around in, so maybe not heavy, unless it is obviously the Ladybug set where you're going to be getting lots of health from it. Plenty of quick heal items, and I will be doing more thorough testing like I said in a proper video showing all different types of builds. I particularly want to see if there's any way to neutralise the dust that it does with the pollen shot. And the last thing I've got to say is there seems to be maybe an accessory for the Mantis. So I haven't found it yet, but I definitely feel like there is something to do with that. So maybe it's a reward for getting the gold version of killing the Mantis, or maybe there's just somewhere else that you can find it. So that's something I'm going to look into. It might have been cut, but it's something I did notice when I did have a little cheeky look in the game files. Go and check out all my other 1.0 content. I've got absolutely loads. I should have all the boss fights pretty much up within a day or two. And I'll see you right back with some more grounded content soon. Bye bye.